Welcome, welcome. I am very much looking forward to this panel discussion. In a small country like Austria, we lose a lot of soil every day because of land sealing, around 12 hectares daily. That's about the size of 16 soccer fields. So let me quote Kurt Weinberger, the CEO of Austria's hail insurance company. He says, "Soil is a non-renewable resource. If we lose it, we lose our independence in supplying food." So we want to talk about that. Before we dive in, let me briefly introduce the panelists who are joining me on stage today. Nico Rosberg, Norbert Tocznik, Wolfgang Grabherr, Shaila Darmos and Todd Wagner. Thank you for being here. I want to start with you, Minister Tocznik. Since March, you're also responsible for climate policy. And the issue of soil loss is not new. It's been discussed for years. A goal to reduce land sealing to 1.5 hectares per day was already announced by the last government, but never implemented. So Austria continues to lose 12 hectares, as I said, of soil per day. What are your concrete steps? What will you do to change that?
Thank you very much. It's 2.5 hectares per day is our goal. Austria has a long-standing tradition of implementing sustainable soil management and practices. But despite this historical commitment, action remains necessary to address new soil protection challenges. And this is precisely why we why we developed the first ever national soil strategy in Austria. And this demonstrates our commitment on a national level, even if it's not legally binding. But my minister led the development of this soil strategy together with the federal provinces, municipalities and cities. And our joint goal is to limit land use in the next years to 2.5 hectares per day. And I think this strategic framework is very important, and it has been already adopted by the federal provinces, and established clear parameters for sustainable soil management and national conservation. I mean, the main elements of this strategy are to protect open landscape, farmland, to prevent urban sprawling. Third point is efficient inner development. The fourth element is rising public awareness and stakeholder engagement. Additional to this all, we set up a monitoring system to track land use and land sealing, and we expect the first valid data package this December 2025. My approach for implementation approach involves collaboration with the federal provinces, because they are responsible for spatial planning legislation. So we need the cooperation. Maybe some examples we discuss at the moment. For example, there's the designation of agriculture priority zones, or setting up land take compensation mechanism. And finally, another part is that we promote the reuse of already built up areas like brown fields to avoid further soil use in the future.
So to sum it up, you're sure there will be a change, right?
Yes, of course.
So let me switch to you, Wolfgang Grabherr. For those who haven't watched the startup show 2 Minuten 2 Millionen or 2 Minutes 2 Millions, that's our Shark Tank in Austria. And your company received the highest investment ever made on Austrian TV. You are the CEO of Sun AG. And on the show you have said that you provide a solution with your product called Mini Meals. Can you give the audience just an insight? What are mini meals?
Well, mini meals are a solution. They are saving 90% on most of the resources which we need for food. And we will present that today in a press conference at 2 o'clock, and it will show how efficient a new type of food is. And it's called high-performance food, or in German, Hochleistungsnahrung, which means we need only about 800 calories to provide all the nutrients which the body needs, and not 2,700.
And I want to give that to Nico Rosberg, because your team raced in the Extreme E Series full electric cars, and in 2024 you worked together. And with mini meals you worked together. So what were the shared values or goals that brought you together?
Yeah, hello. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Great pleasure to be here. And yes, in fact, we raced together and against each other also with Wolfgang in Extreme E. And Extreme E was a very innovative championship in racing, which for me was awesome because it united sustainability with racing. And I think many of you will agree maybe F1 is not the most sustainable. Do you agree? Yes, no, kind of, maybe. And Extreme E was really racing for the planet. Fully electric cars, racing in areas to raise awareness for the problems that climate change is causing, helping, supporting the local communities. You can see behind there, this was in Sardinia. This is in Saudi Arabia, but before it was in Sardinia, where there was the big the big forest fires, which took out 1,000 hectares of forest, and then we planted together 20 hectares of new forests. So really trying to contribute, and that was wonderful together with Wolfgang, a wonderful experience. And by the way, we became world champions also. That was very important.
An applause for you, clearly.
Thank you very much. And for me, it's a great pleasure to be in Austria, because most of you won't know, I actually went to the kindergarten here in Austria for half a year. So I'm a little bit Austrian at heart. And the last time I was in Vienna, I picked up my Formula One World Championship trophy right next door from where we are here. So this was my last time. So a lot of nice memories here in Vienna and in Austria in general.
And today too. It's so nice to have you here. Shaila, I want to follow up with you, because you're a person who clearly knows what healthy soil means. Your father founded the first organic farm in Greece, and today you continue his legacy. That's what I read. So what does healthy soil mean to you?
Yeah, healthy soil is actually the foundation of our lives, I would say. Healthy soil means that you close the cycle, that you are not extractive. And we can see this really in all the farms where you have an extractive model, where you have a monoculture, you just don't have healthy soil. You see our farm in the background. We have a very diverse agroforestry system, which actually transitioned by itself to agroforestry, which is incredible. So we just started observing nature and trying to understand the basic patterns that underlie nature. And circularity is a very big one. I would like to say that in the farming sector, we fall prey to the same problem that we have in all our society, which is extractiveness. So whatever solution we might find, we might point out, might it be called clean energy, we need to build into the DNA of whichever solution we propose. We need to build in there that it's not extractive, but that it's nourishing communities and that it's in people's hands. Like as Arnold said, we need the people with us. That means people need to be decision maker and people need to benefit from it. We cannot take 1,000x returns and then think, oh, why are people not stewarding their livelihoods? Well, they can't. So this is really essential to nurture our soils, to implement the basic patterns of life.
Mm-hmm. And to protect the soil. Thank you so much, Todd Wagner. We're really happy to have you with us at first. You're a successful entrepreneur in tech and media, and you are well known for introducing streaming with the launch of broadcastfm.com, not FM. Among your many projects, you also founded Food Fight USA. What is it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think the best way to kind of give some perspective, I'll spend maybe a minute on what the problem is. It's a little unique in the United States versus Europe. It's actually much better in Europe. And then a little bit about what we do to try to solve the problem. You know, the best way to me to frame this topic is, you know, in the States, We've got a food industry that feeds us but pays no attention to health. And we've got a health industry that heals us but pays no attention to food. And because of that, they're like ships passing in the night. In Europe, you've got the EFSA. So you've got one government entity that oversees food from the farm to the fork. You have what we call the precautionary principle. So basically, if something is known to be a carcinogen or some harmful effect, it's banned. There's independent scientific review. There's cumulative effect study. All of that's in place. The United States, to use a technical term, is kind of a shit show. It's the opposite. So we have the FDA, we have the USDA, we have the EPA, 3 different agencies regulating different parts of our food supply. The FDA is famous in that the F is silent. They've not cared about food for 50 years. They've focused more on drugs and medical devices. So what has happened in our country, in Europe, you have about 400 approved chemicals. In the United States, we have 10,000. And that has happened. The villain of this story, frankly, is the tobacco industry. So after they settled in the United States in the 1980s, they went out and bought big food companies. They bought Kraft, they bought Nabisco, and they used the same playbook. Gee, we're good at making things addictive. We've done it with nicotine. Why don't we do it with food? Let's call it hyperpalatable, make it addictive, and see where this takes us. But they had to exploit something, so they exploited a loophole called GRAS, which we don't have time to go through, but it basically was used for chemicals that were safe in our food supply. They instead exploited it and hired their own scientists, did their own studies, no cumulative effect studies, and all of a sudden, we now wake up with 10,000 chemicals in our food supply. That translates into ultra-processed foods. You may have heard that word. UPFs are basically, I call it the straw that stirs the obesity, cancer, diabetes drink. It's these concoction of chemicals that subvert your metabolism and create the issue that we now find ourselves in. In the US, it's estimated 70% of our diet is ultra-processed foods. In Europe, it's closer to 20%. So what does it mean? We've waked up with the following. We have a nation, again, the United States, that's chronically ill. 75% of our country is either overweight or obese. We have 38 million diabetics in our country. We have only 22% of our young people that can even enlist in the military because of obesity issues. It is a problem. And so what Food Fight USA does is the following. We've gotten very involved in state and federal legislation to key on to what Governor Schwarzenegger said earlier. We started with California, and Arnold actually helped support the first piece of legislation, which was the California Food Safety Act, made it bipartisan. We met with Governor Newsom, and we got it signed into law. That banned 4 known carcinogens out of our food supply, of which 2 are now banned nationally. California went back and did the California School Food Safety Act. We were very involved with that. Now there are 30 states in America with different kinds of legislation copycatting what California started. You're going to see state AGs involved in this. We're involved in front of package warning labels. We're involved in trying to reformulate ingredients so that our foods are safer, just like they are here in Europe, along with regenerative farming.
Well, thank you for, yes, it's your applause. Thank you for sharing that. We want to come back to Europe, and we heard the problems that are happening in the US. Minister Tocznik, if you look at forecasts, we are facing an increasing shortage of food supplies. For example, in Austria, harvests of wheat and potatoes are already going down. So what is your long-term plan in this case?
Yes, I think we have to see first the background, the global background, and there will be approximately more than 9 billion people in the year 2050. So we need a lot of food in the future. And the EU plays a very important role in this because the EU contributes to feed the world. If I look to the exports, the agribusiness exports of the European Union, they are in 2024. There was a trade surplus of 235 billion euros. So the euro is the biggest exporter, you have to imagine. And what contributes to this in Europe, it's the common agriculture policy. This is also a very important point for the future. If I come down to, or let's go down to the national level, Austria is very famous because of his very sustainable agriculture policy. Our strength lies in our small and medium family farms, and they not only produce high quality food, but also deliver renewable resources and also take care about our landscape, which is also very important for tourism. And the point is that they have very important knowledge, and we have to ensure to preserve this knowledge and to have a look that this knowledge passes from one generation to the next generation. But in what we are investing now, we are investing first of all in our agriculture education system. We have a very good education system in Austria. I think it's one of the best ones in the European Union. In the federal provinces, there are more than 70 agriculture technical schools. And on the national level, we have high schools, technical high schools of agriculture. And every year, more than 5,000 graduate from these schools, 5,000 skilled workers. This is a lot of men and women power, you know. And this is the first. And the second is we also invest in research into climate-fit crops, into better plant protection, and also to improve our agriculture practices. As long as a natural and a very one point is we have to reduce waste, food waste, and also to improve our distribution systems.
So we heard a lot now about Austria, and I wanted to ask you about your campaign, Race for Soil. What is it?
Well, it's started 14 years ago when I joined a conference like this in London. And there were a lot of people on talking about environmental issues, and I scratched my head and didn't know where to start because I just felt going home and wanted to do something. So I started to analyze all the things which are important around sustainability and studied the FAO databases. And when I learned that we are losing about 1% of our arable land per person, over the last 50 years means we lost 50%. Like we had 3,600 square meters per person, and we are thinking about you living on an island, on your own island, and you need soil, and you're losing 1% of it every year. That was for me concerned, because that means in 50 years we are still losing 50% more. By the fact, UNESCO just gave a warning out to all the member states that if we don't do something, by 2050 we might have lost 90% of our land, degradable. So that's something I wanted to do something, and that's why I created mini-meal as a solution. As Arnold said it, you need resistance to pump, and we need something to take into the hand. And that was my idea. And with that, I went to Antarctica and showed that it's possible to do only with 800 calories the same power and have the same energy climbing the highest mountain with only 1,000 calories per day.
So you wanted to do something, yes, as Arnold said in his speech. Nico Rosberg, that would bring me to you. You also founded Rosberg Ventures, which manages a $100 million fund. So what made you move into the world of startups and founders? And maybe you'll tell about your next steps.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a venture capitalist now, and because the world of startups, they're going to be the biggest companies of the future, of course, and the impact that startups can generate is enormous, and I'm very excited to be involved in that very deeply. I was just in Silicon Valley again just recently, and in fact I invested in something that's very interesting, because in agriculture there's also a huge lack of data collecting for now still, and that causes a lot of inefficiencies. So I invested into a company that has developed cameras with computer vision that can go onto the existing trucks and all the kind of machinery that's moving around the farms. And as a result, then using AI software and everything to collect all that data and propose efficient manners to run the farm, including even weather data and data on the fruits, the health, the amount of fruits and everything. So that's something I'm very excited about, the opportunity for startups to have enormous impact.
So one part is collecting data. Todd Wagner, You told us a lot about Food Fight USA and about the problems in the US. Now I want to know, would you like to work also with farmers in Europe?
Yeah, so, you know, the first remark I made was really about the FDA. Now we're on the USDA lane, and I'll talk about working with farmers in Europe. You know, in the States, we have been growing monocrops now for 60 years. And by monocrops, I mean it's just soy, it's just wheat, it's just corn. Corn is a perfect example. Maybe 1% of the corn grown is actually eaten by a human. 99% of it is turned into high fructose corn syrup or ethanol or fed to the animals, which turns into the omega-6 inflammatory conditions that people have. So the Farm Bill is a big part of that. And crop insurance was put in place to be able to give the farmers an ability to grow that. But now we're at a different place. And since World War II, we've used a lot of what I call the sides, the pesticides, the herbicides, the insecticides. And what that's done, and we referred to it earlier, is the topsoil. We've lost half of our topsoil in the Midwest, the part of the country I'm from. And they estimate within 50 years our topsoil will be gone. So yes, we are huge fans of regenerative farming, crop rotation, cover crops, low or no tillage so we can have carbon sequestration, all the things that everybody up here is an expert on and understands. But we have to flip in the States, the USDA, to be able to understand that conventional farming needs to be the exception, not the rule, and that this kind of regenerative farming can be scaled. That's the world I understand as technology. It can be scaled. There's tools available. In Europe, we're working with Campo Verde, who's a company out of Germany who leads the way with Demeter certified foods, and we're trying to get more of that into people's hands.
And that brings me to Shaila. Maybe you could just tell us what would be your ask from policymakers? What needs to be done?
Yeah, so there are actually a lot of things. And also with EARA, the European Alliance for Regenerative Agriculture, we actually published today the biggest study of regenerative agriculture in the world, where we actually look at all the farm data and also the economics behind farms such as ours. And we prove what service we provide, ecosystem service, regenerating the water cycle, biodiversity, and that it is indeed actually economically viable. So what farmers actually need is a simplification in terms of bureaucracy, because now many farmers have to fill out too many forms and don't have time for farming actually. But also we need to invest a lot into education. In Greece, farmers manage about 45.5% of the land surface of Greece with close to zero education about ecosystem functioning. So we have floods and we have droughts. A farmer needs to learn how to manage an ecosystem, otherwise it cannot be successful. And we need to incentivize improving soil health instead of some eco schemes and some methods that might be totally out of context. So if we want soil health, we have to reward soil health. And with EARA, we present precisely how that can be done.
So thank you for sharing these important points. Nico Rosberg, I wanted to finish with you. Since you're here with us, let me change the perspective for a moment, just to finish it. Athletes are role models. We heard Arnold Schwarzenegger at the beginning. How can athletes inspire people to make a difference? What would you say?
Well, Arnold is the best example. We are here because of the success that he has had as an athlete, of course, not only, but that is the foundation of his success. So that's the best example. We have such an opportunity because we have such an enormous amount of people following us on social media, in the media, everywhere. So it's really an opportunity, and to be a good role model, to show the way, to show that we care as well, and hopefully get everybody who's following us to join in the journey. And that's also a reason why I'm here today. I have two daughters at home. They're 7 and 9 years old. And I want to also inspire them on a journey in future of contributing, to the world and to society.
A perfect sum up. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. And thank you to you for listening.